Hello. Hello there. I'm just feeling. Oh yeah. So this is Power Grid. This is one of my favorite board games of all time. And we're gonna do something rare today. We're gonna do a 6-player game on France. This is highly, highly unusual. We have some of the best players around here on Brett Spielvelt, the one and only site with an official online Power Grid implementation. So Shiang is a longtime veteran of this, one of the people who first taught me this game online. And jbode is my longtime rival in 2-player games, and probably the best Power Grid player, period, all around, when you factor in 2-player and multiplayer games. So Power Grid is normally a 2 to 6-player game, and we actually have a full 6 for this one. And playing 6-player in France is something that a lot of the veterans tend not to like, because the player who's last in the turn order for this auction is guaranteed to buy Plant 11. And Plant 11 is amazing because uranium starts out at just 5 electros here. So 11 is a super efficient source of money in the early game. And luckily, I happen to be the player last this time. It's an advantage for me, but far from guaranteeing the win. Also, if you notice to the side here, I have a little plant tracker here. That's pretty important. So I'm keeping track of the different numbered plants that are in the game. So since we're on France, this is one of the expansion maps. The gimmick here is that uranium is cheaper at the start, much, much cheaper than on regular maps. Actually, no, not even half the cost. Actually, even less than that. I think uranium starts out at maybe, 14 on regular maps, and it starts out at 5 on France. Hence why 11 is such a big deal here. And 11 is also always guaranteed to be the next plant coming out in the deck after 10, which is not the case in other maps. In other maps, 11 is one of the randomized plants in the deck, and 13 is always the first plant drawn after 10 in most maps. Take my free 11 here. And yeah, 23 came into the game, so that should very likely be bought, possibly as early as next turn. That's not such great news for my 11 here. Not that I'm complaining about 11, but it won't be as sexy as normal. So 23 has been drawn, so I can mark that off. 16 I can mark off. That's become 30 and 34. So in this game, the highest numbered plant remaining in the market at the end of a turn, it goes to the bottom of the deck, and we won't see it again until step 3. Because the step 3 card is always at the very bottom of the deck after all the plants. So this game is different steps. We're in step 1, then step 2, and step 3. And the most obvious difference in them is that with each step, more spots and cities open up. So you may notice that there's 3 different spots in each of these cities, and only the first spot is open in step 1, and that spot costs 10. So your first build is 10, and then each city after that is 10 plus the connection cost, which is this number in between your cities. So Xiang, the first player here, did Nimes and Montpellier as his build, and that only costs 10, and then 10 plus 3 plus 10. So a total of 23, which is dirt cheap for 2 cities at the start. And jbode, who, as I mentioned earlier, probably the best overall power grid player. I'd say jbode and Peacestein X are the two I would put at the very top overall, probably, across all different kinds of games. And Bode takes a very solid safe build. Leon is in the middle. So when you're building early, you want to carve out like a safe, 5, 6, 7 cities where in an area that's not going to entice anyone else to block you. And there's no sexiness in blocking Leon. At least not to the south. And Bode really only needs like these cities to the south and like immediately to the west, maybe. Someone else might build immediately to the north in Dijon, but that's not too likely. I mean, it could happen in a 6-player. I guess in a 6-player, probably that's going to happen, but Bode's still fine with just the south and the west here. Alright. So, Aylo bought the 7 plant, which is a really unusual choice of a starting plant. Really unusual. Normally, I think 7 is a terrible starting plant, and I'm not really convinced this is any different. 8 should be bought instead of 7 because 8 is going to be cheaper to run, at least on the first turn, and it's going to more directly attack other players because 8 burns coal. So 8 is 3 coal for 2... It's 3 coal to power 2 cities. The 7 plant is 3... It uses 3 oil to power 2 cities. Oil has a lower restock rate than coal in this step 1 of the game. And coal is going to be much more common, so you're attacking more other players by using the coal. So, this is interesting now. There's builds to all these different regions. Everybody has a bunch of stuff here. Bode's kind of crowded here. I think my build here is Amiens and Reims, I think is the correct one for me. So as we mentioned earlier, looking at the power plant tracker, 34 is going to go under the deck. But yeah, I'm blocking myself a safe. It should be what? A safe 5 or 6 cities for me here, I think. I'm okay with that. Even if I just get these 4, I'm okay with that. Because I get right next to Paris, which is really strong. Because Paris is actually 3... It's actually counted as 3 separate cities. And they all have a free connection with each other. So Paris is a really sexy part of the map. You want to get in on that. And there's only 3 spots in each of those, so I want to be one of the 3 players who gets in on this. So come step 2, I should be able to get into Paris here. Because the player in Paris is almost certainly going to take Orleans and Tours. These 2 here, that's who the Paris player should take next. So I can get these cities in the north and the east here, and then I can set myself up to be by far the closest player to Paris for step 2. So 16 is a solid plant for the early game, 2 oil to power 3 cities. Ooh, 18. Do I want this thing, actually? Do I actually want 18? I think I do. Because someone else might bid on this. 18 is a nice plan at the start here. Because you never know. All it takes is 1 bad plant drop from the market to just shut things down here. Okay, someone else bid, which is good. I don't really care too much about getting 18 myself. I just wanted someone else to bid on it. That way I can stay in the market. Because if I pass on buying any plants altogether, I'm out of the auction for the rest of this turn. I cannot bid on any future plants that come. So by me placing a bid on 18 and then passing right away with someone else bidding on it, I can stay in the auction should another big plant come. That's what I'm looking at here. Although we probably won't... There's not too many possible big plants that can come because only the top 4 plants can be bought at any given time. And the top 4 plants are the lowest numbered ones currently of the 8. So 23. So we get big plants like 25, 26. Like we see, 26 just dropped, but it's blocked because 23 comes on. And Aylo buys 23, which does not surprise me at all. That's almost certainly going to be bought this turn for sure. I don't mind that too much, though, because the restock for nuclear is fine. Prices will stay where they're at now, as long as it's just the 2 of us burning uranium here. So 24 and... Why is this happening? Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, so 24 and 26 and 18. Those have all come. And 24 comes on, which is bad, because 24 is an awful plant at this stage of the game. Shiang's in a rough spot because he's stuck with 3, which is really bad. So Shiang kind of needs to buy a plant here, but he risks dropping the 26 for Bode, which would go a long way toward locking up the game for him. So I just put some stuff into the chat. So I think 18 went for too high of a price. I would definitely not pay even like 25 for the 18 plant. I would not pay 25 bucks for it, or I wouldn't even pay, 23, 24. I probably wouldn't even pay that much for it at this point, because the restock rates and all the resources are just huge in 6-player. The amount of resources that are restocked each turn, it scales to the number of players in the game, and 6-player just skyrockets all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. So that makes the green energy plants, which can run with no resources, that makes those a lot less valuable than they are in smaller games. Generally, the smaller the game, the stronger green plants are, I would argue, in general. There's going to be plenty of exceptions, of course, because Power Grid, with its randomized plant market, presents a lot of interesting situations for you. But as a general rule, yes. Green is gold in 2-player games, especially. And also, the 3 and 4-player, also green plants tend to be strong in those. 18 can very reasonably go for 25 or even close to 30 bucks. The 18 plant going that high in a 3 or 4-player game. In a 6-player game, though, nah, I'm good. I obviously did not need to buy a plant this turn because of my handy-dandy 11. So I'm going to go to about the middle of the turn order at this point. So I don't want to build another city here, I think, because then I can go below some others in the turn order, like Aylo and Daroj. I can drop below them in the turn order. So only Shiang and Bode, again, the 2 best players in this game, those are the only 2 who are going to stay ahead of me. Luckily, those 2 are not the ones threatening any of my cities, so I'm not so worried about that. Let me check and see. Ooh, 12 dropped. That's really bad. Oh shit. I need to fire. I need to use my resources. Get my money. So you make money by powering cities. That's the gist of this game. And you have to power a certain number of cities, or rather I should say, you have to build in a certain number of cities to end the game. Is how this works. So that also scales to the number of players. For example, in a 2-player game, one player has to reach 21 cities built in order to end the game. In a 3 and 4-player games, it's 17 cities. 5 player is 15 cities, and 6 player, which we're playing here, it only takes 14 cities to end the game. So none of these people need to buy plants. Aylo should not buy a plant at all. Aylo needs to just get up to 3 cities and make full use of that 23 that they just bought on the previous turn. So that's for sure. Oh my god, why are you doing this? That's wow. That is just... Trash is still too expensive at this point for 24 to really be worth it. And you're going to put big plants here. I don't mind this, though, because I will bid on this 21. 21, 26, like, I have a shitload of money. I can very easily fight for these plants. For sure. So now it's all of us 3 last players here. I would say the 3 most experienced players in this game. And we're all going to be the ones fighting over this plant. So I need to check my plant tracker and see, okay, so there's still a decent number of bad plants that could come and block us from the 26. 25 is also great, though. That's not much worse than 26. So I'll have to factor that into my decision here. Aylo just opened up the game for all of us. I need to think here. Need to think. I won't be able to reach a 3rd city this turn, though. $29 deserves another click here. I think it's worth. I'd say around 30-ish is what it's worth. And now we're getting to the borderline stage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of how many? Motherfucker. I should have just passed this, but whatever. Oh, there's 25 for Shing. Okay. Durr. I don't know why I clicked that. I probably should have just passed and made Shang eat the 15. That 15 was a pretty obnoxious drop, but still. Why the fuck? Okay, so I think, as of right now, I'm kind of an underdog in this game. Bode is in a really strong position, I think, because 21 went for arguably too cheap. I don't know. Shang has cheap cities, though. Shang can make use of the 25. They should be able to get to 4 cities, I would think. Let me think about this. All right. 14. Okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can just barely make it to 4 cities here. So in 6 player, it only takes... So step 1 ends when 1 player reaches 6 cities. That's for 6 player. For all other... Well, no. For 2 through 5 player, 1 player has to reach 7 cities built in to trigger step 2. And in 2 player, it's 10 cities. I'm expecting Shiang to make it to 4 cities here. Wow, can't even afford 4. Oof. Okay, maybe they're not as well off as I thought, although Bode's not as rich either. Yep, and I built it just the right time. I'm just going to fire all my things. 35, so that's going to go under the deck. 12 came on. Oh, 12 was already in. 26, 27, 30, 33. I already have those plants down. 35 goes under. 37. So my goal now is this. I want to keep the 15 as an endgame plant. That's my goal here. And if I get a 5 and a 6, I can get to the endgame capacity. So yeah, since I made that mistake of clicking the 15, I bought 15 when I shouldn't have, and I gave Shiang the 25 with no bidding. I'm going to try to keep 15 the rest of the game in order to justify that purchase. That's my plan here. Still a few bad plants lurking in the deck. Still a few bad plants lurking. I think I'm going to pass at this point because if I pay this much for a plant, I can't power 5 cities this turn. And my goal is to get to 5. I absolutely want to power 5 cities on this turn, for sure. Daroj has to be rich, I would imagine. Didn't buy a plant last turn with all the bidding going on for them. Has that 18 running. Started out with 10, which made a lot of money on the first couple turns. Or maybe just the first turn, I forget. 30, 33. I don't want to even touch 27. Oh, God, no. I already have 1 3 plant. I don't want another one. Like, any plant I buy from this point onward has to be an endgame plant. Meaning plants with a high enough capacity that can power enough cities that I can keep them for the whole rest of the game. Oh God, 30, 30, 30. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my God, this is like perfect for me. This is fucking perfect. Bode and Shiang can't buy a plant. And I don't mind, and like Aylo can't really buy a plant either. Like none of these guys can afford to buy a plant is the problem. So, oh my God, if I get 30 at cost, that's going to put me in a very strong position for a 6-player game. Really strong position. Like, super fucking strong. And Aylo should not buy a plant. Aylo should not buy a plant at all. Bingo. Well, 31 came on, though. This is tricky, because none of these players can really afford to buy a plant at this point, I think. But and Bode, so Bode is going to be in a really strong position, although Bode's going to have issues with money. So yeah, Bode and I are, I think, we clearly have to be leading in this game after that. Because the thing is, 30 is a perfect plant for me because I don't need to use it for a little while here. Like, at this point, I kind of want to stall the game. Although Bode would also benefit from a stall. All right, 22 came. Let me check the other plants that are in the deck here. Let me check the other plants in the deck here. Never mind. 37, 33, 37, 38, 44. Okay, 44 was the one I missed. That's the one that's going to go under here. Question is, here's the issue. People can't afford to hog resources, so theoretically, I could maybe afford... Nope, I'm $1 short of being able to build in Power 5 here. That sucks. That sucks. Because that coal got bought? Yeah. If I could have gotten one coal at $2 there, I actually could have afforded to build here. Even still, I don't mind too much. And Shiang bought a bunch of coal anyway, so I don't really... It's whatever. Whatever, I'll just power 4 again. Daroj buying all those green plants, which... That really, honestly, I think that's a losing strategy in 6-player. Also, with the plants I have here, I am definitely keeping... because I was able to get a 6 plant, like a 6 and a 3 is very solid base capacity for a 6-player game. Having your top 2 plants at 9 going into the end game. The tricky thing in my situation is... Yeah, so the problem here is this. Shiang is taking the lead on money for sure at this point. Shiang takes the lead on money, but the problem is plants. If 32 ever becomes available on the market, Shiang's going to win, I think. But, given the plants that are left, 32 might never happen until step 3. And 6-player games with good players, they tend to end before step 3 a good amount of the time. Because one player just gets a runaway capacity lead. See, like here, the market's just getting worse now. Like, these are just terrible plants available here. So... Well, there's the 32. So 32 is appearing. I mean, it was going to appear at some point. The question is, will it actually make it onto the open market, i.e. the top 4 plants here? It's being blocked right now, and we'll have to see what comes. The majority of plants left in the deck at this point, slight majority, I should say. Or actually, no, half, because I forgot to take 31 out, so... Half the plants left are below 32. And remember, lower numbers are the ones that are available, so lower number of plants will block 32 if they drop after somebody were to buy like 22 or something. So at this point, like, I think Daroj is the richest player. Shiang has the best combination of money and capacity, having the all-important 25 plant. And then Bode and I are doing the best in terms of just raw capacity at this point. Bode in particular because he has a 6 and a 4 as his top 2 plants compared to my 6 and 3. So now I have to decide, do I want to trigger step 2 now? Problem is this. I don't want to put a plant out there for Shiang to win. Okay, well, someone else is triggering anyway. Okay, sure. So step 2 is happening. It's happening, folks. So I finally get to 5 cities now, so I can power my, get full value from my 15 plus 11 here. And most players are standing pat. I'm going to be second to last to build, which is not great. But the lucky thing is, the closest player to Paris after me is the one player who builds after me, because they had more cities than me. Aylo here, who triggered step 2. And triggering step 2 in their situation, I think, was absolutely the right play. Like, they have to try and move the market. There's 42. So as of right now, 36 is getting onto the market. I mean, 32. So 42 should be the next plant to go under the deck, because that's the highest number plant. 42, and now the 20 comes on. All right. This is a very important plant. Really super important. And once again, we have a 50-50 chance of 32 making it onto the market after this. People should fight over this plant because, like, this plant, I think, should command a lot of value. Because, again, there's a 50-50 chance that 32 will not become available in the market after this. It's exactly 50-50 chance. So I expect these people to fight hard for this plant. Because people have to think also, even if 32 comes in the market, am I going to win it? If I don't expect to win the auction for 32, which I would expect 32 to go for well over 60 easily. It could go in the 70 to 80 range potentially. So if I can afford that, then I should fight like hell for the 20 if I need a big plant. That's what these players should be thinking right now. Because 20 and 32 are the only remaining plants that could come onto the market that will power, 5 or 6 cities. And those are the most important plants. And 32 did come on. All right. So I know there's going to be a lot of fireworks here, so I'm not even going to bother clicking on this. I'll just pass right away. Because I know these guys are going to go nuts for this. I fully expect Shiang to win this plant. I just hope people at least make him pay for it. Make him pay a lot. This should go into at least into like the 60 range, I think. Now 33, there's actually, at this point, let me check and see, 37, 38, 40 come out, so there's still slightly under a 50% chance here that 33 will come onto the market. But even like 33 before step 3 is normally a great plant, on the rare occasions it does show up. But in 6-player, less so. It'll still get action for sure, though. Funny thing is that the next 3 plants in the deck after this are 39, 46, and 50. 38 actually could come onto the market before step 3, which is like once in a blue moon status. Also, at least the fight for 32 is getting intense. And Daroj is loaded with cash. Like, I fully expect Daroj to win this auction. Like, I fully expect Daroj to win, because Daroj has to have the most money of any of the players right now, easily. They should win this plant. Shiang is not going to give it up without a fight for sure. Daroj just needs to keep pressing. Keep pressing. You should be willing to pay 65, even 70 for this plant. Because you're not going to get another... Like I said, unless we get the miracle draws that put 38 onto the market, you're not going to get another plant this big before step 3. This makes me really glad I got my 30 as cheap as I did, because trash is going to be cheap for the rest of the game now. Like 5 trash comes back into the game per turn in step 2, and we're using exactly 5 trash each turn. Between myself and Aylo, between the two of us, we're burning 5 trash per turn. So there's no need for us to hog the trash, stockpile it, because trash is not going to get more expensive with each turn. The price will stay the same. Daroj just has to, like, basically auto-click this plant. Daroj should just auto-click. Like, don't even think about it. Just click, click. You gotta have a lot of money. Daroj has to have a lot of money from running those green plants this whole time. Oh my god, he let Shiang have it. Oof. 29 comes on. Okay. Wow. Shiang is probably going to win this game now because of that auction. And 29 is actually getting bidding here. It's interesting. So looking at the plants left in the deck, there's 6 left in the deck. So there's a 1 in 3 chance that the next plant will be lower than a 4 capacity. So there is some value in bidding on 29 here. 29 is also the best... Is also... Well, that's why you bid. One of the 2 bad plants left in the deck that can block it has arrived. So now at this point, I mean, I can't buy any of these plants. None of them help me. None of them help Bode either. Shiang is has to be in the driver's seat for this game, I think. What I would need is this. Basically, my situation here is I would need to try to stay below Shiang and Bode in turn order. Try to stay below, you know, basically any other player who'd be a threat to win. Stay below him in the turn order. And I don't think I ever explained how turn order works in this game in the whole time I've been talking here. I'll do that now. It's kind of complicated, but, I mean, at least at first, but it's easy when you get the hang of it. So, turn order is first determined by the number of cities you have. The more cities you have, the worse your turn order gets. When you have an equal number of cities, then the tiebreaker becomes your highest numbered plant. So I currently have the 30, which would put me... That makes me better than Shiang and Bode in the tiebreakers because they have 31 and 32. But I'd be worse off than all the other players. Their highest number of plants all lower than 30. So that's the tiebreaker if you have an equal number of cities. Those are the two things that determine turn order in this game. And what I mean by better turn order is, the better your turn order is, the later you go in the auction, the earlier you buy resources, and the earlier you get to build. So later in the auction, earlier in the other phases of the game. That's turn order. So my thinking, right now I'm trying to think of how I could beat Shiang and Bode. And I think I'd have to play the turn order game. So basically just like try to stay below them, I think is my plan here. Shiang at least had to pay a lot of money for 32. I still don't know if... yeah, I don't know. I definitely have to stay below Shiang for sure. I cannot end Bode, because, like, basically, I want to put myself in a position where if there's another, like, 3 or 4 capacity plant... Actually, no, wait, that wouldn't matter. There's no 3s left. Let me reconsider this because of the plant market. 17 is the only other plant left that can drop that's not a 4. And I can't improve my capacity with any of these plants here. So actually, I'm not sure how important turn order will be. 17 is the one bad plant still lurking. I'm not going to run my coal plant this turn. I can't build enough cities to take advantage of it. So I think I just want to get to 8 here. That's my plan. See what people give me. So what's interesting is this. If I had put in a bid on the 29, with this block coming in the market, I could potentially have won the game. 29 would get me to 13 capacity. I mean, yeah, 13 total capacity, which would be higher than anyone except amitss. And I'd be in a better long-term position compared to amitss because I have a 6 plant. That's my situation here. Ooh, Shiang doesn't have any more money. That's good to know. That's good to know. And now you're seeing the restock rates are getting really out of control here in step 2. 9 coal come back into the game per turn. Just ridiculous. amitss is actually in a really good position here. I just realized, looking at capacity, Never mind Shiang and Bode. Amitss could very well be the favorite to win here, which has me thinking I'm not going to build into Paris. I want to try to build outside to the extent that I can. Try to block Amitts's building here to the extent that I can. Although, he's got no... Amitss has a lot of territory because they can go into red. Okay, they're going... Daroj is going into Paris, which is a very reasonable play. So I do miss out on Paris. So I did get locked out of Paris, which sucks. That really sucks. Oh well. Yeah, I just think this might be... I kept spending all this time talking about Shiang and Bode. This might be Amitts's game, actually. Anyway, 14, 19, 22, 40's going under the deck. Let's see what comes next turn. And there's the 50. No reason for me to buy any of these plants. Nobody in this game at this point needs to buy any of these plants. That's for sure. So buying that 15 did come back to haunt me after all. Although I'm not so sure about Shiang winning this game either. Shiang is behind in money compared to Amitss. Plus, Shiang would still need to buy another plant just to match Amitts's capacity. That's a big problem. Big problem. If Aylo really cared about the game right now, like, trying to, like, help their position, they would buy, like, 22 or something. Actually, maybe 14 would be better, as I think about it. Well, no, 14 would cannibalize their own plant. They have 24. Oh, shit, 19. I didn't even see 19 is on the board. What the fuck? $19 doesn't help me, though. 19 does not get me past Shiang or Bode in capacity, so I have no reason to care about 19. 19 would benefit those guys that they went last. Like, especially Shiang. Like, if Shiang got to last in the turn order, got 19 and built out, he could win the game. So he's very much still in this. Aylo buys 12. Huh. Well, there's 17, so now we know that the remaining plants here are all big ones. Problem is, you can't build any of these plants off out of the game at this point. So Shiang Shiang does have okay expansion options. I helped to block him a decent amount, though, which is good news. Like, Shiang and amitss, ideally, I want neither of them to be able to get to 14 cities during Step 2, if at all possible, because that's what ends the game. I don't know if that's possible, though. I think Bode and I are both kind of dead at this point. Yep, people just chomping up the resources here. As expected. And Shiang at this point is just doing the math to see how much stuff he can buy while reaching the number of cities he wants to reach. Because he's trying to get as much value as he can from the 32 plus the 25. And those add up to 11 cities, so he still has a ways to go. 11 is the number to get full value out of that stuff. Honestly, there's not much value in me building at this point, so I'll just take my cheap resources and chill here. I think I'm going to end up just having to play the turn order game on this one. Aylo is making a lot of builds here, trying to block off territory from others. Although Aylo is building into Shiang cities, that's not really impacting Shiang so much. amitss has a lot of open territory too. Like, I still think amitss is the clear favorite in this game. They have pretty low numbered plants. They can do well in the turn order tiebreakers, and they have, the biggest plant capacity of anybody in the game right now. If I were in Shiang's position, I might consider just possibly even staying pat and just trying to get the bottom spot in the turn order so that I can afford to buy 19 without dropping anyone else a plant. That's what I would think here. That's what I would think about in his spot. Yeah, I think... So this is interesting because if Shiang buys the 19, that's going to put a 4 capacity plant on the market guaranteed. Like, everybody else after him is going to get 4s. And that would get amitss up to 14 as well. And Bode too. I think I'm pretty much dead in this game at this point. And again, it all goes back to my stupid decision to buy 15. It really goes back to that. When I should have just passed that turn and made Shiang eat the 15 instead of giving him 25 without a competitive auction. This game would be so much different if I didn't make that stupid-ass move right now. Yeah, amitss is angling to end the game next turn. I just stay where I'm at. I don't really have good places to build at this point anyway. I have no reason to build. I have like one fairly cheap city left to build in for step 2. And anything else would take a huge jump at this point. Actually, a lot of it's just getting outright blocked. Amitss has so many cities open still. It's all in the expensive red area. So, like, here's the deal. The problem is this. Shiang, I don't think, will be able to end the game if he buys a plant next turn, because he's going to have some decent resource costs with 25 and 32 there. Yep, and there's 28. Okay. So we know 39 and 46 are the last 2 plants remaining in the deck. Basically, by me being last, if nobody else buys 19, I can buy 19 and at least get up to 1 spot higher. Because I'm pretty sure Amitss should be able to end the game. I'm pretty sure on this next turn Amitss can end the game, right? Because Bode would... I expect Bode's going to build in a red, but I don't think he'll be able to block off all of it. This is a play that's just basically saying... This play is just me saying, I expect the game to end this turn, so I'm going to just aim to power as many cities as I can. That's where I'm at with this. I'm definitely richer than... Bode or Shiang. That's for sure. This jump here is not attractive, but... Because I got completely locked out of Paris, which is bad. And step 3 is not going to come for another turn yet. And the problem is this. If I don't build... Amitss is just going to end the game. That's where we're at here, I think. So... I'm just going to get to 12 cities, do my best. I think it's where I'm at with this. Shiang is deciding on resource buys because I'm sure he's thinking about the same thing I'm thinking about, which is the threat of Amit's winning this turn. The reason I keep talking about this is this. Amit's has higher capacity than any of us other players. Amit's has 13. Like, Amit's can power 13 cities, and the rest of us can only power 12 at most. So, if Amit's can build 3 cities right now, and just with resources for all of their plants, they win the game. Personally, I feel like being the noble one in this game and just trying to do my best to prevent that from happening. That's what I'm feeling here. Also, I'm not actually going to fire the 19. That's for sure. All right. And I'm just making the noble sacrifice. I'm not going to win this game for sure. So I'm just trying to prevent Amit's from running away with it. Bode is now in a bad spot, though. Because all these cities got blocked. I think we blocked off enough of the map that that Amit's just straight up. Okay, they can take this city. Amit's can take this one, and they could go. They could jump over into here. That's be a pretty far jump for them, but they could do that. So it's 12, 13, and they could jump here. So they would need some big jumps. This city is cheap, but then they have to take 2 really expensive ones. Never mind, Aylo blocks that one. Okay, so now Amit's is down to a really awful situation here. Oh, he blocked that. Okay. Yeah, okay, so what we're doing right now is because it's step 2, you cannot build into the 3rd spot in a city. So basically we're blocking all this. Yeah, okay, so Amit's can't end the game now because we blocked all their stuff. Yeah, alright. I'm just going to fire all my plants on this one. So step 3 card is next after this, which means that we know that 28 is in the market now, and we know that 33 should be next. Actually, 34 will come on too. This is interesting now. Let's do this. I don't care. Since I can sure as hell afford... Shiang is bidding on this. Interesting play. This gets him to 15 capacity, which is really powerful. Very surprising play here. So if I put this 33 up for bid and somebody else bids on it, then the next plant that's going to come, I think, will be the 34. Because there's a bug in this. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to give me that. Yeah, they're not going to give me the satisfaction. 34 comes on next. This is going to be the monster here. Because this plant is a 5, and the next plant after this... Oh, actually, 36 will be next, which is interesting. So people can build up their capacity for sure. Because 36 will be next after this. See, there's kind of a bug in the way BSW does this, where if the step 3 card comes out in the middle of the auction, the plants that come after step 3 are not reshuffled. They come in the order in which they went under the deck. So I know that going by this, that 34, then 36, then 35 will be the next plants to come here. So 37 is not going to get on the market this turn, is what I'm saying. Shiang bidding on 28 is interesting. It tells me that he can't get to 16, so this could be a battle in terms of money. So yeah, this game's over, and I'm going to finish him in the lower spots for sure. Because I did the sacrifice to stop amitss from winning the game last turn. We have 3 players at 15. This is interesting. Daroj is definitely the richest player, but the problem is they're only at 14. We have 3 players at 15, so Daroj is not winning this game. Even if they get to build first, they're not winning this game. It's going to come down to these players with 15. And I am definitely finishing second to last here. For sure. Bode has extra resources stored, which is not a great thing for him. I don't think Bode's winning this. It's going to come down to amitss and shiang. So what this game came down to was the players who get the big capacity, like the 6 capacity plants earlier in the game, those players tend to have an advantage in 6-player. Although amitss still has a good shot. Plus, amitss getting to build before shiang is a big deal in the competition between those two. Well, you just take your cheapest city at this point, Daroj. Yep. It's actually very, very normal for 6-player games never to reach the actual proper Step 3 auction. Bode gets to 15, which tells me the other 2 definitely will as well. So it's going to come down to who has more money left. So What decides who wins this game is first, who powers the most cities when the game ends, and then for players powering the same number of cities, the tiebreaker is who has more money. I actually could have had a decent shot at this game, I think. Well, no, I probably still wouldn't have won, but I could have had a decent shot if I'd stayed low in the turn order and not bought 19. But the problem is if I didn't do that. I think amitss might have been able to win last turn. Wait, can amitss not afford 15? Because I'm pretty sure shiang wins the game. Okay, no, amitss gets to 15. All right, cool. Shiang is some tricky stuff to think about regarding where to build. Because of Shiang's big problem is, building last amongst all the 15 people. Plus going after a 14 person. Okay, he gets okay spots. If I had to guess right now, I still think shiang might win. Frankly, I think shiang might win. My hunch is still that shiang wins. That's going to be my guess here. That 25 is just such a difference maker. I keep going back to that, but really, I changed the whole complexion of this game with that stupid crap I pulled. So that's my pick. I think shiang wins this on money. Wow! Okay, I was wrong. amitss just barely beat shiang, so only by $4. I was also right about daroj being freaking rich. Also, I'm surprised at how rich I was compared to the other players. Although, after building 2 more cities, I mean, I'm probably on par with Bode. But wow, these 3... So, the top 3 players in this game were all within $5 of each other. Holy crap. Anyway, that was a game of Power Grid. 6-player on France, which is very rare to see. Usually people don't like to play 6 on France because of the guaranteed 11 plant for the last player. They feel like that's, too big of an advantage for just sheer luck at the start of the game. But I'm going to close this off and bid you all good night.